YouTubers are absolute frauds. Do not trust anything YouTubers tell you. I normally talk about politics, but a fundamental part of this channel is addressing media. We talk a lot about propaganda, we talk about gaslighting, we talk about people can be easily misled. So let me show you what happened. Let me show you some of the tricks in this video and how I was able to mislead you. So let's start with the parking lot test. So in the parking lot test, I was complaining about how the Skydio was all over the place. It's like wandering around and wishy-washy. Now that you know that I misled you, now finally you're probably thinking a little bit deeper and paying more attention. So I'm going to ask you a question. Do you see any difference between this shot? This is the Skydio test, right? Let me jump to the DJI test. Anything looks different about these? So that's actually this is somebody else filming him doing the test, right? We want to look at the shots that were recorded by the actual Mini 4 Pro, like this. See, when you see the telemetry, you see the little circle on the left and the stop button. That means this is what the camera is recording, right? The DJI. Does this look any different than what I showed you before when I showed you the Skydio test? I'm gonna jump back to the Skydio test. Here's the Skydio test. This is what the camera's showing you. On the left is what he sees on the phone, which he's using to control it. Do you see anything that looks different? See, now that you're actually paying attention, all right, if you still haven't picked it up, that makes you even easier to manipulate. Because even when you know that there's some, I'm pointing it out to you. I'm not saying you the exact detail, but I'm letting you know that there's something very different about this test versus the other test. I showed you the image of the DJI, the DJI camera footage, and now I'm showing you the Skydio camera footage, right? If you're not even able to recognize the differences in the footage, right? On a very fundamental level, not talking about something that's like some nitty gritty, some minute detail. There's something fundamentally different about both. It's not a hidden thing. It's not very tricky. It should be very clear to you the difference between the shots. Rewind the video if you need to, and jump back and forth and see if you can see what's different. Right. So let me tell you what the difference is. In this particular shot with the Skydio, he has it very far away, right? What's the significance of that? Obviously, well, not obviously, but you would think the further away it's going to be more difficult, right? I mean, think about this is a computer that's doing it, right? So the computer is very limited right now. Getting AI is kind of getting better, but it's still very sort of limited. Think about it as a human. Obviously, you can track details and an object easier when you're closer than when you're further away. So you'd think that some of that might apply to the Skydio. So the further away, the more difficult it is to see you and distinguish between you and the road. Look at the parking lot. It's gray, and he kind of looks kind of grayish as well. He kind of blends in. So as far as visually being able to see him, it would be more challenging. But more importantly, by him pushing it so far away, he made it have to work harder than he made the DJI work. Because by pushing it so high, it was, the trees ended up being in the way, right? It's ending up in the same realm as the trees. So that made it have to wander around a bit. Let me see if I can get some of that footage. So you see, he had it close, and then he actually pushes it further away, right? For whatever reason, he decided to do that. So now, based on this height and distance, this happens. I think there's a tree right there. You can see it's right next to the power line. It's right next to the tree. So it's trying to maneuver around those obstacles, right? And while it's doing that, he actually changes direction of travel because he made a corner. So it's a lot of work to do, a lot of things to deal with. In contrast, the DJI didn't have to do any of that. Look how close it is. It's super close. It's much easier for you to see him versus the parking lot. And therefore, it's much easier for the DJI to do that as well. So it has a better image of him to see him clearly. There's no obstacles in the way whatsoever, so it doesn't have to do any obstacle avoidance. All it has to literally do is track this guy. That's it. See where he is and follow him wherever he goes. That's it. Meanwhile, the Skydio had a more difficult tracking to see him from so far away. And additionally, it had to deal with the trees and the power lines. So they gave the Skydio, double the work, right? And pretty much pushed it to an extreme scenario. And then for the DJI, they made it as easy as possible. Super close, no obstacles. You can clearly see the person. Much easier test. So essentially, it's like they cheated for the DJI. Now, why would they want to make you think that one is better than the other? I have a theory on that, and stick with me. I'll tell you what it is. There is a benefit to them doing this test the way they did, right? Let's look at the other test they did. So here's the test in the neighborhood. So right there, you see it's on the right, it's on the left, spinning around in circles. But the reason is, if you look at the controller, he has it set to be in front of him, right? In order for it to go in front of him, the way that it flies in a circle. It orbits the subject, right? So the path to get in front of him, this tree is blocking that path. Now, if it was more advanced, if we were into the future where this technology was better, obviously what it could do is it could fly to the center of the road or the center of the trees, fly straight forward, and then rotate around. Well, first of all, if it does that, that's going to be a horrible shot, right? Because if it goes behind him and centers, right, and then it flies over him, when it flies over him, you're going to lose him. He's not going to be in the shot for a period of time while you're flying over him, because the camera can't film something directly underneath. So you're going to lose him in the shot, right, for a bit, and then you have to do a 360 spin to turn around to record this guy, which is the reason why I assume that the path that it's been programmed to follow to move from left to right, back to front, is circular, right? You orbit the subject so you can keep them in frame. I mean, that's the most logical way to keep this person in the frame as you move around them to a different position, right? Problem is the tree is in the way. So they would need to be smart enough to be able to do this rotation, recognize the tree, and then calculate a path around the tree so it keeps you in the frame. It goes in around the tree and then back out around the tree and continues to arc around to the front. But that's a very complicated maneuver, right? One wrong move and you're going to crash into that tree, right? So I assume right now what it's doing is it's doing those calculations. It's trying to figure out how to do that. And while it's doing those calculations, this guy's moving out of the frame. But now what happens when they test the DJI in the same environment? So this is the DJI in the neighborhood test. So naturally, they are closer and they're following from behind. You can see the picture on the left here. It's showing behind. This is much easier, right? So now it doesn't have to do that craziness. The trees are no longer in the way, right? Because all it needs to do is keep following it. If there's a tree in the way, you shift a little bit to the left, you shift a little bit to the right, you shift a little bit to the left. That's not complicated, right? You can easily do that and keep him in the frame. The problem is to go from the back to the front is a very, very complex maneuver because, again, the trees block your ability to do that in a smooth way. But, again, you can avoid trees very easily from the back, right? So, again, they've made the tests in a way that is easier for the DJI than it is for the Skydio. Very deceptive. And I didn't see anyone in the comment section noticing any of this stuff. And I also wanted to comment on something else. They keep talking about how every time they test it, they always give the Skydio a 2 for ease of use, right? Saying that it's difficult to use or whatever. Let me tell you, I actually have the Skydio 2, so I've used it. I've used DJI products as well. Let me tell you how you can get the Skydio to track you. Let me tell you how difficult it is. You press and hold the launch button, and that's it. Not exaggerating. You literally press and hold the launch button on the little remote. It launches in the air. It starts recording automatically. It locates you automatically. It engages in the follow mode automatically. You literally don't have to do anything. You launch it and then you go. That's it. With the DJI, you launch it and then you have to go into the motion mode and pick whichever mode you want and draw a little box around the person. And they even mentioned that there was some difficulty with drawing the box. I forgot what they said, but they mentioned some difficulty with that. So how is it that every single time they test the Skydio, they give it like 2 for ease of use? So it's so difficult to use. Whereas, what's the difficulty? Not only do they keep saying that, they never tell you why, right? They just say, oh, it's difficult to use. How is it difficult to use? In what way, right? Maybe if they were to point it out, maybe I could say, oh, okay, I could see, but they don't even. They just put that idea in your head that it's difficult to use. Difficult to use. I think they even reference the drawing of the box when they're making that point. Like with the DJI, you just draw the box. Well, with the Skydio, you don't have to draw a box. It's so designed for this specific purpose. That's one thing I want to mention. For you guys not familiar with these products, the Skydio 2 is very specifically designed for this very specific task. The DJI, as far as I know, is not. I think the minis are more designed for these types of things, more easy to use type of thing, a lot of automatic fly modes. But the Skydio is very much focused on this, which is why it has things like a remote control, which is why it automatically records, which is why it automatically goes into the follow mode, because that's what it's all about. So how can a product that's specifically designed for that particular task somehow end up being categorized as more difficult than a product that was not designed with that focus, that has more steps to do the same thing? And additionally, the way, once you have it following you, by the way, if you want to move the distance, it's like plus or minus, further, closer, right? Literally just 2 buttons, plus or minus, further, close. That's it. What's so complicated about that? If you want to move front to back, there's like a joystick type thing. So you can move it in a circle around you, going to the left by clicking left, or to the right by clicking right. If I keep clicking on the right and it's behind me, it's going to go from behind me to my right side, to my front, to my left side. It's going to move in that direction. So either you're moving clockwise or counterclockwise. But literally it's just 2 buttons, left or right. Which way in the direction of a circle do you want to go? Left or right? That's it. Like what is the complication? Right? There was also something that I missed out on. I forgot to point out. I think it was a Through the Trees. So this is the Skydio test. There's this section right away. When I saw this, right away I knew what the problem was. So here it gets stuck. It's just a little branch. I mean, it should be able to navigate around it. We've seen it navigate around so many things. It never crashed, unlike the DJI that did crash in the same environment, right? So why is it stuck here? Well, I'm not some Skydio expert. I've only flown it a few times. I've only had it for a short period of time. So with a very, very minimal understanding of this product, right? And not like I've been flying for years or even like a bunch of months. I right away identified, because I know, I mean, this is like a basic thing. Like if you don't know this, like have you spent any time understanding the product at all? I know right away, one of the key things with like motion tracking like this and Follow You is it has a default of a floor. It will not fly lower than that for safety reasons, right? Because it's flying automatically. What if it flies into someone, right? Or hits a car or something, right? So whenever you're going to fly around low things like these low branches, you need to disable that feature, right? Now, in fairness, they did disable the feature afterwards, and they did mention this afterwards. But why would they try to fly in an area with low trees like that without disabling the feature, knowing that it may need to fly lower than the floor, right? Because think about the impact of the viewer. Showing the viewer this thing getting stuck on this branch, and then you have to change some feature, right? As opposed to setting it up appropriately for what you're about to film, and then this would have never happened. It would have been able to follow through the trees as it did and not crash as it did. And then it wouldn't have gotten stuck in that spot. All right? So this is how they're able to make the DJI seem like the better one, even though it crashed here. The DJI crashed and it lost him multiple times right? But the way they did this thing, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, the Skydio was horrible, right? So why would they do this in the first place? Well, if you look at the description of the video, there is an affiliate link to buy the DJI. So the Skydio, in contrast, is no longer being produced. So you cannot buy it new. You can only buy it used, right? So you can buy it, but you don't buy it used. They don't get any benefit from you buying this used product. But they do make money if you buy the DJI because it's new. So they're incentivized to review this in a way that makes the DJI look better because they can make more money if you buy that product. In other scenarios, it'll be that the product is provided by the company, so they get it for free, right? So they want to give it a nice review because they want to get more products in the future. If the product is not that good, they don't want to make it look bad because maybe the company doesn't give them a product in the future. Sometimes they get, if it's a smaller company, they'll get paid off behind the scenes. They'll give them money to promote the product, right? Sometimes it's not that they're getting paid. It's just, again, the access. Just like Brian Tyler Cohen in terms of politics. You know, if he talks badly about Democrats, he'll probably start losing access. He starts talking badly about Democrats. You think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to do interviews with him anymore? No, right? So just like that, there's people who get products from companies and they give these softball type of things and they, you know, oh, it's great, it's amazing, right? Just basically helping the company to sell the product so that the company will continue giving them product. So they'll overlook things, right? What if one company is giving you free stuff and the other company is not? Which product is going to get the better review? Meanwhile, the viewers have no idea any of the stuff is going on. They just, one of the problems with YouTubers is it's more informal, right? It's just some guy and sharing his thoughts. It's not so corporate. So the viewers feel like, you know, they can trust these people, right? Hey, this is Jamie from the whatever show, right? They may engage with you in the comment section as opposed to a corporation doesn't engage with you directly. They want you to buy their product, but they're not trying to talk to you. A YouTuber talks to you, right? Responding to comments, responding to video requests. So it feels more friendly and people therefore drop their guards, which is why a lot of these companies pay these YouTubers so much money and invest so much in dealing with these YouTubers because it's a very effective marketing technique. But it's important for you to understand this. It's important for you to understand, you know, the dynamics of YouTube. So when you see a YouTuber promoting a product or doing a review, right, keep in mind, a lot of these guys, I mean, to me in general, from what I've seen, most of them, like, they will promote just about anything to get more money and more clicks, more views. There's not a lot of integrity. And one of the reasons for that is a very competitive business, right? You could stay there and try to be honest and whatever. And then meanwhile, your competition blows you out of the water. Maybe your channel just fails, right? And if channel failing means your business. They're doing this as a business. So if channel fails, that's your business failing. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to pay your mortgage? How are you going to pay your rent? So they're incentivized to do whatever it takes to get as much money as possible, to get as much access to products as possible, to get as much clicks as possible, right? And it's for you, the viewer, to understand this dynamic. So when you're listening to these people, right, that you're thinking critically, you're not allowing them to manipulate you and mislead you, right? You should always be skeptical when you're watching these YouTubers. There's a lot of scams, a lot of deception, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of pandering, a lot of propaganda. I mean, this platform is absolutely infested with it. And one of the reasons for that is, take a look at my channel. Look how many subscribers I have. Look at my average view count. That is what it would look like for most of these people if they were just honest and told people the truth and not focus on so much on, like, how can I maximize revenue? How can I maximize clicks? Right? When you just tell the raw truth, which many times people don't want to hear, this is what happens, right? Your channel dies or doesn't go anywhere, right? So seeing what it looks like to just be raw truth, know that almost no one else is going to want to do that. So it's only going to be a matter of what level of deception are they utilizing, as opposed to are they being deceptive. I think for the most part, that's how it is. I think even the better, more honest channels, there's a level of deception. I like breaking points. right? I like how they, they'll go after Trump hardcore, they'll go after Biden hardcore, right? They'll call out the right, they'll call out the left, and not and in a more balanced way, because many people will do that, but 98% of the time they're attacking one side, 2% the other side, right? With breaking points, it's more 50-50, not literally 50-50, but it's more closer to that, more closer to reality. But they're very deceptive with their anti-mainstream media gimmick that they play, right? All this focus on legacy media, that's, let them tell it, is dying, and it is. Yet the media that's booming, they have less interest in calling that out. If everyone's watching independent media now, and that's what's blowing up, why would you focus more on calling out the dying media instead of the media that everyone's moved to? That's a little dishonest, but it's good for business. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And like I said, if you look at the comment section, pretty much no one picked up on these things. They're all like, that's a cool video, great video, thank you, man, this is awesome. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right? They just totally ate it up. And a lot of these guys have experience with these products, so they're not just, many of you listening probably have never even had one of these, but a channel like this is going to attract people that have the knowledge, so they should know better. It shouldn't be as easy to manipulate these people. If it's so easy to manipulate people who, again, should know better, right? These are people who have the relevant knowledge here. What hope is there for everybody else? If you're not super engaged with politics and knowledgeable about how politics works, you are super easy to manipulate.